crazy when you tell someone that one of your added values, your value adds when they work with you is customer service, because that should be a given. When I was younger, customer service was not just, the customer was always right. It was also going above and beyond for that customer, that client. My first job was Taco Bell, even from that age of 14 years old, making minimum wage. I think minimum wage, Matt, back then was like $5.25 or maybe $4.25, something like that. $4.75, right? So imagine, like, even at that young age, it's just instilled inside you that, the customer is always right. You would hate if you had to send food back. You not because the customer was, being mean to you or upset with you. It was because you failed in getting their order correct. Moving forward from that, my next job, as a 16-year-old all the way to like 18 was Men's Wearhouse, like selling suits. What I learned during that process was not only to provide great customer service, but how to incorporate a sale. Like, think about it. Remember Men's Wearhouse? I guarantee it. Remember, like, that guy, like George Zimmerman, right? Yeah. I got to meet him one time, which was kind of cool, at a President's Club thing. But really, what it was you would have these, it was in San Ramon, California. You would have these high-end businessmen, people with wealth, people with money back then that would come in. And back then it wasn't as like polished as it is today, where you would have some custom clothier or tailor that would sell you a $3,000 suit. You had Nordstrom's, Macy's, or like Men's Wearhouse. And for the convenience factor, a lot of the successful businessmen in town would come to Men's Wearhouse right there off Crow Canyon in San Ramon. And you learned real quick how to adapt to different personality types, especially A types, the type A's, the ones that would come in and be like, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I need. And they're looking at their wristwatch the entire time. And your job is to build a rapport with them, connect with them, show them things that they normally wouldn't see because you had their attention span for maybe 15, 20 minutes. Again, this was a different era because we didn't have smartphones, people looking at their phones. You literally would put them into a dressing room to try on pants. And when they came out, you would have 4 or 5 different shirts with a tie tied to them, to the shirt with a sports coat. And you would show them different variations of looks. And you were never pushy sales with them. When they came to your counter, they would see, different variations of types. And you would tell them, hey, look, you don't have to buy any of these, but these are some suggestions for what would go well with this coat, with this suit. And oftentimes they would, leave with, 3 or 4 suits. And next thing you know, you would build rapport. And anytime if you got real good, a new line of suits came in, a new Canali suit came in, or, brand of suit that they liked came in, you would be able to call them and say, hey, I just got these in. I set aside a 42 long for you, So then you grow up and you get to the next level and you get to, college and professional finance, like, the world of residential finance. And it was not as gross as it is today as it was back in the day. Like, back in the day, the company I worked for, I'll never forget it. I learned a lot from them. California Financial Group, CFG. To this day, I will give them shout outs. It was, if you ever saw the movie, I don't want to say Wolf of Wall Street or Boiler Room, because that kind of declasses, like, it makes an image painted in someone's mind that those places were like just, hardcore sales and hurting people. That was not what it was at all. It was a group of guys and everybody kind of fit a stereotype. Like, what I mean by that was like, everybody was, in the best shape of their life. Everybody was like a former athlete, D1 athlete, or a professional NFL player, or, there was one guy that was playing for the Raiders on an active roster that was still, coming in and selling loans. And then you had every personality type. You had the loud, you had the quiet, you had the motor mouth. Hey, I'll say you like a million miles an hour talk. And then you had the person that was really slow and, methodical in how they delivered. But at the end of the day, it was like this giant fraternity. And we worked really, really hard. I mean, the first person to get in was be like 6 a.m. I would always get in around 8:30. And if you got in like after 9:30, you were like never really a top producer, And, people would stay there till 8, 9 o'clock at night habitually. But again, what I'm learning from this group of 40, 50 people is not how to really be a gross salesperson. It was really, hey, how many clients can we talk to? How many hours can we work because we can fit in more clients that we can talk to, that we can advise? We can advise. Anybody that came into that environment that was really about sales or how to increase their commissions never made it. I worked there for almost a decade. And then at that point you evolve, into, owning your own company and you're working for bigger brands. So I share all of this with you because, I feel blessed in the sense that, from that Taco Bell, from that, from that Men's Wearhouse, from all of these places that I worked at from a youth to now, it really, really made me focus on customer service. And truly, truly what customer service means to me is, if I had to summarize it, is doing anything and everything for the customer to make sure that they win. That's really what it is. Now, if you want some meat and potatoes and details on how you do that, okay, if you're a lender and you're not calling the listing agent after an offer is presented or before an offer is presented, if you're not calling a listing agent and saying, hey, this is Sonny, have you heard of me? No, you haven't. Okay, well, oh, you have? Okay, great. Hey, nice to talk to you again. Or, hey, you haven't? Hey, let me tell you about myself. I've been in the industry for 21 years, and I am representing the lending side of this couple or this borrower or this person who's about to put an offer on your home. And let me tell you the goods about them. Let me tell you their strengths. Okay. They have this FICO score. They're an essential employee. This is what they do for a living. And these are the three things why they like or love your home. Oh man, the wife and or the husband really loves, the kitchen or the spacious master bathroom, or they can really envision their kids playing in the backyard, or, hey, this works perfectly for their commute into downtown or to Sutter or to Kaiser, whatever it might be. So I'm having a conversation that I don't need to have with the seller's party. And I'm painting this picture of how great our buyer is and how strong they are on paper. Then after that, that's 2-3 minutes. And then after that, I'm moving into a conversation saying how creditworthy they are. Hey, we've done our due diligence. We've underwritten them ahead of time. This is as strong as cash. We can remove this contingency and this contingency, and we can close in as little as 10 or 11 days. Oh, no, you can't. Actually, we can, and here is the process. The moment we get the offer, if you accept our offer tonight, by tomorrow, we will go ahead and we'll contact the escrow that's open with, get the fees. After that, we will disclose within an hour, and then we will have the appraiser on standby to try to appraise same day, if not the next day. And, that's how we'll get the report back. We have a process now where we can get the closing disclosure out before the appraisals are back. So that, helps us with starting the 3-day waiting period. So now you're on the phone with this listing agent who's a representative of the seller, who is going to be one evening this week sitting with the seller and saying, here's this offer, and this offer, or here, this is the only offer, or this offer against this offer. But I spoke to this lender and I have a really good feeling about it. Sonny broke down to me how he's going to get it done really quickly for us so that we can move on with our transaction and, go on to the next chapter of our life. So that's one way that you can provide, customer service and help that client win. The other way is, I hate to say it, it's super cliche to say, but being available. Now, you don't got to, at one time, for a long portion of my career, I was 24/7. I was like, hey, if you call me, I will pick up at, 10 o'clock at night for you to help answer any questions. But as you progress in your career and you're able to hire staff, or even furthermore, when you have progressed in your family life and you have children and a wife and, sports and things that go along with that, the things that provide you joy in life, you have to start setting boundaries. So, and you tell your clients, hey, I'm available for you, but, at appropriate hours. But what I'm saying with that is being truly available. I know I have been around, like I told you in that story, I've been around office environments full of loan officers, mortgage professionals, if you will, that are mid-conversation with a colleague, water cooler talk, and their client's calling their phone and they're just ignoring it because they know they can call that customer back when they have more time. And that just isn't going to work for me because I'm always going to think in my head, well, hey, they're calling me for a reason. If I was calling my lender, if I was calling my professional, if I was calling my doctor, if I was calling my contractor for a reason, there's something on my mind that's cause of concern and what is making me reach out to them. So can you imagine if some client's calling you and you're like busy in a conversation or busy with lunch or busy with something that isn't really requiring a lot of your attention? You're reading an email or you're looking at social media, those are distractions. You're not able to communicate with that customer when they need to communicate with you. And that right there is like number two, right? So what you've heard is, hey, go in the extra mile by talking to the selling agent, go in the extra mile by being available. Now, you might not always be available. So like some things that have helped me is setting auto replies that actually don't sound like Chat GPT AI. Like, Matt, have you seen those ones? Like, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you in 15 minutes. They're rude. Like, just go in your Apple settings or your Android settings and change them to where they, are like more relevant and sound like you. Hey guys, it's Sonny. I'm in a meeting, but I'm almost wrapping up. If you could please give me a call. Like, if I can please call you back in 10 minutes. I see that you're calling, so it sounds like me, The other thing that I do is if I'm on a call, I'll literally snapshot a picture of myself to my client. Yes, they have my cell phone number. That's number 3. Let them have access to you. Okay. Another way that we go over the top is, if a client is buying a home, refinances go so quick, but let's talk about if a client's buying a home. When they're pre-approved, I will make sure to send, depending on the purchase price, right? Like if it's $1 million purchase price, then I'll spend, a little bit more. But my usual purchase prices are under, $700,000. So I'll usually spend about $50, and I'll send a gift card over to my client, an e-gift card. Or I'll call the restaurant in advance and I'll say, hey, here's my credit card. Most of the restaurants here in Sacramento and Placer County, the owners know me. I'm a foodie, right? So, and I'll say, hey, you're about to put an offer on this home, or you place an offer on this home. Here's a great restaurant nearby that home. Go check it out. And it's just something that puts them, at ease. That it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable with the neighborhood they're buying in. And it's just a classy touch. It's no different than when, a woman who worked with me side by side named Lee at Men's Wearhouse would always put a note. She would put a note right here in the pocket lining. And it would take sometimes 2, 3, 4 months, maybe even 2 days when the client would open up that note and they would read this thoughtful handwritten note from Lee. So it's no different from what I learned in Men's Wearhouse. Just go the extra mile. What is $50, right? What is $40? These people are buying $500,000 to $750,000 to $1 million home. So if there's a really cool coffee joint, you don't have to spend $50. You can spend $30, $25, and let them get a pastry and a couple coffees and really feel like, hey, I could see myself with our dog here, and be at this, restaurant or this coffee house next to my house. It lets them mentally engage with the community in the neighborhood to see if this is going to be a fit. Matt, if someone did that for you, when you and your wife, you just closed escrow on a home, like when you and your wife would buy, like we're in the buying process, you didn't know me, otherwise I would have been the guy. But if someone had did that, how would you have felt?
I felt really good.
Like you'd be like, oh my God. Matt's parents own a really great pizzeria, right? Yeah. So if someone sent them to that pizzeria because they were buying a house in that neighborhood, that's like, like, it's a personal touch, right?
Yeah.
As far as closing gifts, you got to do that. That's a must, right? Showing up to your signings. If you're not doing that, that's what we do. We show up to our signings. Fighting to negotiate the interest rates, actually doing your homework and knowing your guidelines, knowing what is going to be a stumbling block or knowing what's going to happen. We bypassed all of that during COVID when all of the other lenders were focusing on refi, low-hanging fruit. We were really hitting up the neglected real estate agents in our area and saying, hey, look, your lender pretty tough to get a hold of right now, and we would keep it classy. We wouldn't talk trash. We would say, hey, is your lender maybe more spending time with family right now because we're on lockdown? If so, or if you're having challenges getting a hold of the lender, please, reach out to us. We'd love to be a secondary fit. And that's what really helped my team get to a point where, we work with some of the bigger name players in this area. So I just don't know. With the risk of sounding like the generation prior to us, back in my day, right? But I do feel that way. I feel that way because when I go to a store, when I go shopping myself for a suit, when I go to a restaurant, customer service is mediocre at best. If you go, I don't want to say this as generally speaking, but for me personally, maybe you can relate. Anytime I go out, I'm greeted by someone younger than me that has not been properly trained or not gone through what I went through and experienced and was taught by good managers and taught by customers. My managers taught me well at the places that I worked at before I got in this industry, but you know who taught me better? The customers. They'd be like, you know what? How you said that rubbed me the wrong way and I won't be a customer of yours anymore. And you would take that and be like, oh my God, you have to care. This next generation, they've grown up in front of a screen. They've grown up in social media times. And what does social media talk about? It talks, depending on what you're using social media for, it can be really great. It could be really toxic. Like, I'm nervous. There's this thing right now, let's wait for 8. And everybody in our school district is kind of like, not most of the parents that we hang out with are following that. So we're also joining that. What it is waiting till 8th grade to get your child a phone. Now I see both sides of the coin. I see my friends saying, oh man, well then they're going to be really late and super behind on technology. Yeah, but let's go back into some of the toxic things that social media does. It hasn't trained them. It has only on how to deliver great customer service. It has only trained them on side hustles. And that's why when you talk to them, you're in some sort of part of the funnel, right? I went to Best Buy the other day. I'm a likable person. I'm going to drop $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 on a camera. That was my intention. I did not want to buy it from Amazon. I wanted to test out the camera before I spent that much money on it instead of returning it. The gentleman that was helping me was super knowledgeable. In the first 2 minutes, I could tell he knew about aperture, ISO. He knew about the things about the camera and the settings and what the nuances could be. But maybe he didn't feel like he was going to get a sale with me by minute 5 or minute 10. And you could feel it. No eye contact, a weak handshake. Barely knew how to shake hands. Didn't know how to greet. Called me bruh. Hey, bruh. I'm like 20 years older than you, not your bro. I'm a client. I'm a potential customer that might buy, thousands of dollars worth of equipment from you. So I beg to ask the question, like, is it the manager that didn't train him? Is it the customers that don't speak up? Is it the noise that they don't listen to because they don't want to hear it? Because they've heard so much of it from social media and things that they're following and being influenced by, a lot of my friends have daughters, and I get worried about it because I worry for them about it. They are worried about it because body dysmorphia is a big thing right now, right? Like, body image issues is a big thing right now. Like, think about it. These young girls, young impressionable age girls and guys, boys are going on to social media and they're looking at these ripped 6-packs or these bodies that have very low body fat. Like, these people are clearly showing the best of them and not the actual other side of the story where they're in the gym 20, 30, 40, times a week or, whatever, and eating, very low calorie diet or whatever it might be. I'm not knocking anybody that has a nice body. What I'm trying to share with you here is how our generation grew up, taught by our family, hard work, go out and grind and hustle, go and work at Taco. I was working since I was 13, 14 years old. Hard work is nothing to me. I love it. It's something that is a passion to me. Like, I want my kids to grow up the same way. We didn't have social media. We didn't have helicopter parenting style. We didn't have all of that. We had a way to figure out to make it right. And something that we trusted. Our influencers were our managers or the store owner or the small business owner. That's what it said, hey, if you want to stay working here, this is how we run it. This is how you could. They were our trainers. This next generation, I feel bad for them because they're missing that. They're missing a lot of that. And it's showing up. And how this ties into what I'm saying as far as customer service, yeah. Now look at the difference, right? If it's you as a consumer and you get to work with me, my team, a menu of list of services that we offer, our experience, and then our negotiating style to make sure that you get a great deal on your home as well as your interest rate versus Someone who's going to talk to you as if you're a part of a process of a sales funnel. You know what I mean? Like if you're not getting in line with something that's benefiting them and they can tell right away, you're going to feel it. They're going to show you dismissive behavior. That's what I mean by customer service. Anytime you're on the phone, if you can't tell what I'm talking about, let me simplify it for you. If you're on the phone with somebody that you're trying to get a service from and they're not really 100% giving you their undivided attention, they're not trying to actually win you as a customer. They're not helping you answer questions, knowing that you might just take this information and intel and go somewhere else with it. If they're not leaving it all there on the phone call or the meeting or the consultation or the presentation, and why would you want to work with them? Why would you want to work with anyone else? You know what I mean? Like if that person is coming to you and they're giving you a lazy presentation, a lazy pitch, and all they're trying to do is see if you'll be a customer and actually put money in their pockets, is that who you want to work with? Is this what we've been left with as far as options on a service-based business? Not on my watch. So that's what I mean by customer service. I'm sorry if I answered it really in a long, directed way, Maddie, but it needed some spotlight on it.